Smith, Interim Recycling Educator for the town of Southbridge here again. Folks, I'd like you to take another look at this wonderful video produced by Rich Cornetta regarding composting.
Hi, it's spring of 2020. We're doing an infomercial on composting. This particular year, a lot of us are thinking about either starting a garden, maybe enlarging the one we have, but one of the best things that we can do for our either flower beds or vegetable gardens is composting materials. Twofold. It provides a really great loamy soil substance that renews the soil each year. And what's a really big plus, especially here in the town of Southbridge, we're really trying to reuse, reduce, and recycle. So this is one where you take your kitchen waste, which is the largest component of our trash, and turn it into something that we can use, reuse it, and it's, again, a great substance for our soil. So I'd like to show you two compost bins that I have here in my house. We have one that my wife and I built a couple years back, and then we have one over here in particular that the town is offering this particular year, this model. So we use two. This was started, actually, this compost last fall. We use a lot of our leaf material, as you can see right here. And if my wonderful camera person here, woman, will pan over, you'll see over this particular pile, and you also see we had snow last night, shredded leaves. That will break down a lot quicker and a lot faster than what we put in here. But this is just some good examples of the starting point, and we will show you the finished material. Hey, we're back at the garden. Actually, we want to show you the compost that we put in last fall. The bins behind me, I told you we started putting the leaves from the trees that fell last year. What we wanted to do was actually show you the material we emptied out of there in the fall that has been in here all winter. So you can see right here, this is the actual compost material. You see it's nice and rich, it's black, it's not just brown like regular soil looks, it's really been enriched. And of course, having the snow cover doesn't hurt it either, keeps it nice and moist. Over here, I'm going to have to move some of this out, actually. I just kind of left it in these beds last week so you could see. This will have to go back into the compost probably next week before the planting starts for some of the early vegetables. It's not quite there yet. A little bit of the leafy stuff is okay for your garden, but you don't want this much. It attracts bugs, attracts bacteria, and not good for a growing medium where compared to this. So I'm going to talk a little bit about in a minute of what makes up the material so you can compost. All right, so how do we get from that material you just saw in the garden that we threw in last fall, that nice compostable loamy substance, to where you start from? Very beginning of the video, you saw those dried leaves. In this particular bin here, some of them are more mulched up, but a lot of it is actually just a spring cleanup that I just did about a week ago. So there's some pretty, leaves that have not been shredded or grounded up in there too. This is not an exact science. This is kind of wing it as it goes. There is some formulas that you should use, but it's not going to be the same week to week. So we're kind of you have to understand that going in. There's some flexibility, and it allows you to exactly have that flexibility based on the materials that you're putting in, how much it's rained, how hot or how not so hot it's been during the particular months during the spring and summer as you go into the fall. So we're going to talk about a few key things, but we're going to go into details on each one. The first is your kitchen waste also leaves, compostable materials. This is what we actually collect. Little Home Depot bucket. There's a plug for them that we throw in. I usually try to do this once a week. You can do it every 2 weeks. Some people will actually, when they're putting this in, will grind it up a little more. Remember the shredded leaf material I mentioned about? Some people will tear that up a little bit. I personally don't. My wife and I drink probably more coffee and tea than we should. This is like a 3-week supply of a pretty nasty looking soup. But for a compost, you couldn't get better. Coffee grounds, tea, any material that needs to go in here has to be plant-based. No meat, no bones, no materials like that. You got to attract the critters that come around and not so nice ones. And you could be spreading some stuff through the neighborhood and to your neighbors that they really do not want to be a part of. So again, strictly plant-based only. Now, when it comes to this pot, if you got kids, they're going to love it. It's dirty, it's messy, it's made just for them. At all times, whether it's kids or yourself, gloves. You do want to make sure that, because, you know, sometimes if the stuff's been here 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's got to get a little aged. It's got to get a little long in the tooth. You do want to make sure that it's you yourself are protected. And 40% of our trash is kitchen waste. If you can reduce that and put it where a place where it's really going to help reduce what goes out on the curb, and now what's got to help with either your flower beds or to your vegetable garden, it's a huge plus. In a minute we're going to talk about temperature, and I think we're in a good place. All right, we talked about the kitchen waste. Actually, I did bring some out. We're going to put some in the compost. But one of the things I want to talk about too is nitrogen and carbon. Nitrogen is the kitchen waste, along with grass clippings, manure. We're going to go over that, and that's usually a 3-to-1 mix, 2-to-1 mix, or a 1-to-1 mix with the carbon. Again, as we talked about, it's not an exact science, so you just kind of have to see what you're putting in and see what works to get things up to the proper temperature. Here's some of the kitchen waste here. We're going to dump that right into our compost. And I've dug a little hole for it. Here we have some coffee grounds and some tea leaves. And please note, again, this is all plant-based materials from the kitchen. And also I want to talk a little bit about the nitrogen being the manure. There's different types. There's horse, there's cow manure, which I have right here in this pail. And then there's chicken. Now these are not all the same. The chicken is very much stronger in nitrogen than the horse and the cow. So again, you got to be a little flexible and adapt to that. Talked about carbon, and I'll talk a little bit about that as I mix this in. Carbon is being things like I have right here, the leaves. Some people actually tend to put in cardboard. I personally don't, but you can, like toilet paper rolls, paper towel rolls. Those are also carbon. And what I do here is I cover very, very good. We talked about animals that you do not want coming into your compost. Again, plant-based, no meats, no bones, nothing like that to attract them. But even plant-based, you want to cover very, very well. And I usually do 4 dig holes, 1 in each corner, 1 for each week of the month. Okay, and then you can do 1 in the middle also, if you would like. Now, one of the key things to get this compost really humming right is 2 other items, water and temperature. Now, those 2 things you can't control. You know, we don't know how hot the days and months are going to be coming up. We also don't know how wet it's going to get. So, to check temperature, we're going to use a compost thermometer. Now, this one here in particular is available at the Jacob Edwards Library through the Library of Things. You can certainly borrow it, take it out as you would a book, along with other items that they have there. Please check it out. This should get up between 115 and 140 degrees. So that will tell you that this is really going well. The thing that also plays into it, as I mentioned, is water. You need to check your water content. And I'll come over here and we'll do that right now. You'll see this is a little wet, but you want to get a couple of drips of water coming out of this. You hold it like a sponge and pull. This needs a little more water. It should not be soaked though, so you shouldn't take it and do this and you see, you know, a stream coming out. That means it's too wet, but you should see a couple of drops, okay? And that tells you that you have perfect water content. So how you have to get, if this thing is running not up to temperature with the compost, it's probably a little too wet and it may have too much carbon in it. So those are the 2 factors you got to weigh in, and you just play with it. Speaking of Jacob Edwards Library, a minute ago I talked about getting the compost thermometer. They also have very good books on composting and vegetable gardens and flower beds. So please utilize your library for some of that particular information. So I think for there we've covered how to take care of putting the items in, how to measure your temperature, how to check your water content, and I think from there we'll just kind of summarize it up. All right, we got to wrap this up. You know, we talked about reduce, reuse, recycle, the waste from your kitchen. When we first moved here, we went through 90 of those big leaf bags that we had to get rid of down at the yard waste. And you know, you count 90 bags, that's a heck of a lot of leaves. We don't bring any down now. I might have to bring a couple of bags down that just have some sticks or just some other type of yard litter in them, but we've really reduced that by doing this. Huge component of that is shredding them. What I also wanted to touch on with these compost bins, what do you use? You can buy them, you can make them. I got 2 good examples. This is one that's actually available through the town of Southbridge this year, 2020 again, spring, $25. Great bargain. I know when I bought this when I first moved, it was quite a bit more. This is one though that's a little bigger for us as we increased the size of our garden. We felt that there was a need, and also these were not available through the town anymore. So we made our own. You can go either way. They all work, but they're all different. This one here has a lid. It's got to heat up faster. This one does not. It doesn't allow as much filtration of the rain to get in. So there's all types of, again, it's that flexibility piece. So again, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank the camera woman behind me for her time. Thank you, Susan. Again, this is brought to you from the town of Southbridge. We appreciate your checking this out, and have a great garden 2020.
Folks, thanks for watching Rich Cornetta and his wonderful video about composting. I just want to let you know that we are offering compost bins again this year, subsidized through a Mass DEP grant, a Recycling Dividends Program grant, at the price of $25. So please be sure and contact the Southbridge Health Department at 508-764-4252 or simply send in a check for $25 to the Southbridge Health Department, 41 Elm Street, Southbridge, Mass. 01550, or put it in the handy yellow payment box on the side of the Town Hall. Thanks again and enjoy your spring filled with compost and gardening. Thank you.